All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ayrton Coles, and on behalf of our Tennessee Transportation Assistance Program here in Knoxville, we would like to welcome you to our AI Can Help, Empowering the Transportation Community webinar. We'll be here for the next hour. And as I see more folks are joining us, I'd like to say thank you for all of you for participating. We have folks from all over the country here. I would like to say special thanks to our instructor, Michael. So Michael Liu is an NI integration specialist at University of Tennessee. He has a diverse background in software development, nuclear non-proliferation, and education. He applies AI across various creative and technical projects, from publishing a book and completing a novel to launching innovative initiatives. Michael is passionate about AI literacy and empowering individuals to harness AI's potential. He offers a unique perspective on using AI as an assistive tool rather than a definitive solution. So as you can see here, Michael does not have a transportation background, okay? But he is here because about a month ago, I was going through my LinkedIn account, and pretty much every feed that I saw has the word AI or artificial intelligence on it. And I was thinking, well, what can TTAP do to help some of these local agencies understand a little better what AI is? So we're thinking about putting a series of these webinars together. And the first one, we've thought about, well, let's learn about the fundamentals. Let's have an AI 101 webinar where everybody can be presented with what artificial intelligence is actually. So that's why Michael is here for us. He works again for UT, and he's going to do a good job here, a great job for us today. You should have seen some of our upcoming TTAP workshops. We have a QR code that you can get and link to our calendar. And last but not least, before I pass things along to Michael, please sign in, typing your full name in the chat box. If you can, put your where you're joining us from. I know we have a lot of folks from Virginia and Connecticut. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you everybody for being here. Please request you unmute your audio or use the chat box to ask and answer any questions. Please address those questions and comments to everyone in the meeting. I will be working on your certificates after this webinar, but please allow us about 2 weeks to send it out. I need to go through the analytics and make sure that you guys participated in the class. Last but not least here, workshop materials. In a little bit, I'm going to share the link also on the chat box, but your Zoom reminder for this webinar should have a link also where you can download the PDF for the presentation. One last thing, I shared some screenshots of things that I saw on LinkedIn, okay? And of course, those have, with Michael, and those have logos from vendors, okay? What I'm trying to say is that UT is not endorsing any of those vendors. We're just using it as an example to get the conversation started about AI here, all right? So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing, Michael, and thank you everyone for participating, and thank you for being our instructor today.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for having me. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, so AI can help empowering the transportation community. Some things I want you to walk away with after this time are these three truths that I wish I had early on, a long time ago, earlier on in my AI journey. And one is that AI is not sentient. Two, human-centric data is beautiful. And three, you are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Let me dive in just to part one here. AI is not sentient. This is kind of a hard one, and it just keeps being difficult. But we see AI pop up in a lot of places. Like these are what Ayrton was just saying about on these websites. There's AI-based traffic management. There's AI data collector. There's an AI LiDAR, for instance. And there's this idea that, what is this AI, artificial intelligence? What is the intelligent part of that? And as I began to learn about AI, I realized, oh, it's really, the calling AI intelligent is actually kind of problematic in a way when you're trying to learn how it works. And I was, just riffing on how terrible the term AI and a misnomer it was to my wife, and she's like, "Hey, you should look it up in the dictionary. You're giving it too hard of a rap here." So I did. I looked it up in Webster's dictionary. And yeah, the first definition, yes, it enables intimate, intelligent human behavior. It's imitating it. I mean, yeah, it's a branch of computer science. I really don't have a problem with either of those, but it's this other definition. And if you look it up in the Urban Dictionary, it says like, oh, it's a form of life which can think and decide and have feelings and was created by another species. That's the one where it's like, that really doesn't help, people understand or benefit or maximize their ability to use AI. And so, you know, if I were to give a functional definition of what AI is, just to boil it down to something really simple, it's a usable pattern in data. You've got some data that's coming in and you find a pattern, and through whatever means, observation or some kind of computer scientist comes along and says, hey, here's how you can make decisions based on this data that will be really beneficial. That's what AI is at the core, a usable pattern in data. And then it's optional if you want to add the googly eyes on, to where you say, oh, this data is thinking, this data is feeling, this data is deciding things for me. That's the part where I want to say that's the optional part. Maybe that helps understand, maybe that helps, shortcut some of what's going on here, but it kind of takes away from deep understanding of the material. So here's an example. This is a pattern in human language where the pattern is, how do you answer a yes or no question? And, there's positive responses, negative responses, neutral responses. That's the pattern. But, if you've ever seen one of these magic 8 balls, it's like a little thing where you shake it up and there's a purple liquid inside. And then this 20-sided cube floats to the top in order to answer your yes or no question, right? And, growing up is like, no, that's kind of scary. Uh, and if you just take it beyond the pattern and you say, oh, there's sources in here, there's some other kind of intelligence at work here, then there's all of a sudden these dangerous questions like we could ask, are you evil? Are you going to take over the world? Will I die today? And then we shake up the cube and we see, what is the answer? And then it's like, oh, it is certain. Oh, oh, okay. And that's, there's this little scary element. Maybe I will die today. Or, that's the way people will use AI when they add intelligence to it. And they're like, how would you take over the world if you're going to do that? They get back an answer and it's scary, right? Because that intelligent element has been added on. But when we're talking about language models, for instance, what are the patterns that changed everything specifically? If we had to put a fine point on it, we already have these like next word predictions where given a word or phrase, predict it's like on your phone, it predicts a word for you in an email or something. But then Google released this paper called Attention is All You Need. And they released their transformer model. T is like the T in GPT for transformer. And in this model, when they say attention is all you need, they're saying, hey, don't just try to predict the next word in the sentence with a few words that came before. Pay attention to all the words that came before. And nowadays, when they say, we're expanding the context window to get the next word in context, they expand the number of tokens they take into account to like 1 million tokens. They're announcing, I've heard some people say we're announcing 2 million. I heard some people announce we're releasing 10 million tokens or something. But 1 million tokens, that's like 600,000 words approximately that go into predicting what is the next word that people would usually choose based on all the data that's in the system. And you can see how the more context you have, the more you know your puzzle piece fits. If you've ever had that situation where your puzzle piece doesn't fit and you're not sure if it does, more context is better, and we'll get into that. But that's the specific pattern. But then there was like this single answer problem that, as they're developing this, how is this going to work out if we try this and we always get the same answer? This is like ChatGPT, only it's like the developer version, the playground. And here's where I wrote, write a 3-sentence story about a cat. And it wrote back, oh, Fluffy the cat was a curious feline who loved to explore. One day she ventured into the neighbor's yard and discovered a hidden garden filled with colorful flowers. Fluffy spent the whole afternoon frolicking in the garden, making it her new favorite spot. But the thing is, what they encountered with a similar answer problem is if I ask the exact same sentence, I get the exact same answer, word for word, all the way down to the last period. It doesn't matter how many times I ask it, I always get back an identical answer. And I think everybody needs to see this to see, oh, this isn't intelligence. This is, mathematically computed based on the data. And, the single answer problem, the math adds up. That's why the words always come back the same. And however, there are millions of other possible ways to see everything, to solve every problem, and even to tell a whole bunch of different cat stories. So, what do you think they did in order to make this more beneficial? Because, many answers are better than just one. So, if you were in that situation and you always got back the exact same answer from AI, what would you change? How would you fix that so that we could at least hear a different story about a cat? And if you're thinking about that for a second, I'm going to jump to solution here. Um, the answer is be more flexible with the word choices. Add a little bit of random in there so you don't necessarily have to give the mathematical answer that rises to the top. And so what I did, just to illustrate this point, I put on my developer hat and I pulled back the curtains by sending off that question, write a 3-sentence story about a cat. I sent it off to OpenAI, to the AI, and I said, turn on your logging. I want to see what are the other words you could have chose as you were picking these next word choices. And I said, give me the top 10 for each little choice you made. And going down the list, there's probably 50,000 words in these lists, in the larger models, but these logarithmic probabilities, the higher the negative number, the smaller it is. Um, so you can see Fluffy and if we look at this column, we could have, cat was the most probable thing that rose to the top of the list, but we could have said Fluffy maybe the first word of tabby cat, or Fluffy the orange, or Fluffy the black, or Fluffy the gray. Our story could have diverged if we were a little bit more flexible and we just didn't choose the mathematically right answer based on all the data, what people would tend to pick for these word choices. So I zoomed in, those logarithmic probabilities are hard to look at. And just to show you, zoomed in, I created this HTML page. I used AI to say, hey, show me the data in a way that makes it easier for me to understand. So you can hear this is broken down token by token, like the AI sees it. And here, look, it's a one day she ventured. And you can see and imagine here, out of all the authors in the world who were writing cat stories in this kind of a context, there was a little bit of a battle here. Most of them said, hey, the verb we need for what Fluffy the cat did on this day is she ventured. But some other close contenders would have said, oh, she stumbled or wandered, or maybe SN is the beginning of the word, or like snook or sneaked or something, or discovered. So you can see this is a statistical thing that's happening in the background, and someone on our behalf is putting a little bit of random in there so we don't always get the same story. And when they put that little bit of random in there, there's an AI technical term called temperature. Sometimes you'll see vendors say, oh, do you want a creative response or do you want an exact response? And that's what they're setting in the background is the temperature. It ranges from 0 to 2. And if it's 0, it's specific. Just give me the cold answer. And the higher you raise the temperature, the more random gets stuck in there. And that kind of simulates, you know, not always giving the exact same answer. It feels a little bit more artificially intelligent, right? So if we look at this over here, look, the reason it always gave me back the same answer, I had the temperature set to 0. That's the mathematical right answer. But over here, what if we took that temperature and we set it to 1? Um, with the temperature equals 1, write a 3-sentence story about a cat. And all of a sudden, oh, yeah, sure. There's a little bit of random in here. Now we have Whiskers, Mittens, Max. The story is varied. So um, here's what happens when you set the temperature to 2, just so you can see, it just is so random. It's not even helpful anymore. So that just shows you the power of temperature. Let's go to part 2 here. Human-centric data is beautiful. Um, you know, when ChatGPT was released, ChatGPT 3.5, it was released in November of 2022. They said, now that we've solved this similar answer problem and we've got this new version out, you know, let's release it as a beta and see what people think about it. And then there was a great surprise and shock around the world. The surprise that changed everything. The world discovered that these crowdsourced sentences are useful for the new sentences that they create every day. And then, like, oh, ChatGPT, um, the time to reach 1 million users, 2 months. In 2 months, 1 million users were like, hey, this is powerful. The ability to crowdsource thoughts, language, and words. And by the way, this, if you want to think, what can you use AI for? Uh, if it uses thoughts, language, or words, that's what you can use AI for. And that's so expansive, it's almost not helpful. I spent the whole first year using AI. It's like, oh, I could use AI for that. Oh, I could use AI for that. Oh, I could use AI for that. Because it's just the domain is so big for what you can use it for. But to break it down into smaller categories, thinking, brainstorming, learning, any question you want to ask, researching, creating, it's so many different categories of ways you can use it. But notice this other problem over here. When we have the temperature set to 1, notice something about these answers that came back. In all 3 stories, the cat was curious. In all 3 stories, the cat was a tabby cat. In all 3 stories, they went to go explore a garden. The garden had flowers and butterflies. And in all 3 stories, they ended with the happy ending of a contented purr, a heart full of joy, or lulled to sleep by the gentle sounds of nature. So, I'm calling that the similar answer problem with AI. Oh, it's all the same. So how would we fix the similar answer problem? And I'll let y'all think about that. Would changing the words help, the detail, or the style, or just doing something random? And just to jump to solution again, there's not a technical answer to this particular question because the way to solve the similar answer problem is you. You are the answer. You're the solution to the similar answer problem. It comes down to humans to ask for the patterns that they need to see in the data. And so here's I give an example where, we got all those similar cat stories. What if I said explicitly, could you write me a 3-sentence story about a cat that's 3 sentences long, but it's about a hairless cat that was being mistaken for a dog, and even his name sounded like a dog. And he just didn't get the respect that he needed, so he went out into the world and decided to be himself. And the more and more he got used to being like himself, the happier he became. So here it comes back. Oh, Barco, the hairless cat, had spent his whole life being mistaken for a dog. And I don't need to read the whole thing, but the more he lived as his true magnificent self, the more the world finally saw him for what he was. Not a dog, not a mistake, but a proud, confident sphinx who deserved all the respect and treats he wanted. So, there's no garden, there's no flowers and butterflies. It's not a tabby cat anymore. And it comes down to what we bring and what we ask into the model determines the most popular answer people would say when the data comes back. So, and here's the beautiful part. When you navigate using this methodology to what you want, you're tapping into the deepest archive of human responses the world has ever assembled. There's so much beauty in there to explore. Here I tried to take pictures. These are examples of the types of people where their perspectives are represented in the model, in the training data. And, you know, your ability to explore, you can ask infinite customized questions of endless numbers of types of people and perspectives in the model. You're not limited to just asking, oh, I want to ask the supreme intelligence my question. No, that's kind of a smaller subset of what everyone would say and all together. But we know people wouldn't say all the same things. An expert and a novice, they're not going to say the same things. And if a novice has got more data in there than the expert, they might drown out some of that expert advice, for instance. But the ability to navigate where you want to go, it's a powerful exploration thing instead of just a passive role where you hear what, an AI might tell you. So there's so much richness in the data, and that's why I'm saying the data is so beautiful. And, you know, it's not just language model data that you can take this human-centric type of view, you know. I've put way too much on this screen, but if I gave my kind of dad, like I'm a father of 5 kids, look at it, the ability to have data that enables me to have economic stability and put food on the table, to come home safely and know my kids will drive out with their friends and come home safely, the ability to know, oh, you know, it's okay if y'all want to give me grandkids, it's okay. They can grow up in a world that is still, going to be a wonderful place to live. The ability to learn and adapt and improve our systems with this kind of data, and the kind of data that lets everybody be a first-class citizen and benefit from having pride in their work and being empowered in what they do because they've got great data to support them. So the human value of data, and that's the story that is so beautiful about all these different companies out there. It's the data. That's what makes the difference. The object detection and signal performance data, the LiDAR-based high-resolution 3D traffic data in this example, and the multimodal count timing optimization data here. The insights that have human benefit and value, that's the glory of what's here. And if they use AI as a technique to pull that data out more efficiently, more power to them. But if they're just seeing, this is the value of our data, it's still so valuable because it helps us make quality and wonderful decisions that help other people. And so this is a core axiom I came up with about AI literacy that I think a lot of people skip over when they jump straight to intelligence and just trying it out. And that's this, that the beginning of AI literacy is love and respect for lived human experiences in the data. Um, the, you know, Being able to tap into those experiences and then help each other, it's amazing. So that brings us to part 3. You are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And let me start to tell you the reasons why. Um, there's estimated 130 million books in the world, 1.1 billion websites, 94,643 years of YouTube videos. And that's how long it would take you if you watched it straight. And, there's so much information out there. And then, here we are living in our time and our age, and we're encountering difficulties and hardships and tough problems to solve. And it's not easy. There's an incredible hardship here. And there's this other group that's saying, yeah, we know. That's why we wrote stuff down. That's why we spent years of our life doing research and creating these books and creating these articles to send out into the world to help you for a time such as this. But we're like, well, you may have written all that stuff, but I can't find it. I'm not going to read 130 million books or learn new languages uh, to read and understand things I don't already know. I can't even get past like the fourth or fifth page of Google results to find what I need to know. I mean, if your stuff is like on the thousandth page of the search results, it might be exactly what I need, but I'm drowning in the information age. I'm not going to be able to find it. And then along comes this technology in November of 2022, and some computer scientists said, hey, we found a way so that the people who've been trying to give all this help and the people who are needing the help can finally come together and connect. And it's not perfect, it's not ideal, it's not all the things, but it's meaningful enough and powerful enough so that the people needing the help and the people giving the help can find each other. And that's a beautiful thing. And if you've written anything in the world, there's a little bit of you helping other people. That's so fantastic. And if you're someone needing help and you're reaching out, you're bringing, you're tapping into all that fantastic wonderfulness. So that brings us to this other question is how do you navigate this data? Um, the original text is not stored in the data somewhere. Otherwise, it would be as big as the whole internet. It's the individual word choices that get stored, and those are where the helpful patterns emerge from. So it's important to know the results are not generated, they're being retrieved. A word like combinatronics. Why did someone choose that word? And what context did they choose it? That's what gets stored in the data, not the whole article where the word combinatronics was used. So let me tell you about navigating the data. Um, I'm going to give you three levers for how you can navigate language model data. And the first one is vocabulary. The words that you choose are so powerful to navigate you to specific data. So, like if you were to say, I want to talk about all these technical, scientific things related to transportation research and stuff like that, you're going to land in a part of the model where people are using that same language to predict what words they would say in that context. But if you say, I want to talk about the latest movies and the pop culture and stuff and what's going on the social media sites, you'll land in that part of the model, but just by the vocabulary alone. And something fantastic about you, you have a vast vocabulary to help navigate the model. And let me just show you this example of how powerful this particular lever is with using a language model. This is the same story as before, but I drug all the words around in random orders till it wasn't even coherent, plugged it into the language model, and still got back a cat who thought who was mistaken for a dog and went out into the world and still has the happy ending of, in the end, that was all that truly mattered. He was enjoying his life. The randomized words still work because just mentioning the word story, dog, hairless, that was enough for the model to figure out, oh, we're trying to write a story about a hairless cat who was mistaken for a dog, and it still comes out with the hairless cat. So words that you choose incredibly powerful. Next, social skills. This is another really powerful thing that you know your ability to know who exists in the world and your ability to interact with those people, it's amazing. It's fantastic. Um, like if you wanted to visit specifically, I want to talk to experts in transportation research on, I couldn't even list all the different types of people that work in the field, but you probably could, and you could spin up, I want to know what those people would say about this situation. But, if it's in transportation or it's in, what therapists would say or postmodernists would say or wilderness survivals would say, it's another lever that lets you go to see what certain kinds of data is in the model and pull it out. Um, and popular answers are useful. You can talk to AI as if you're talking to the whole world at once. But like I was saying earlier, um, people are not going to be the same. The novices might win out over the experts in your specific situation that you're bringing your social skills to. And I skipped a page here. Your social skills. If I said, hey, list your social skills for me, it'd probably be hard to do, but I've got some scrolling up the page here just to show you your social skills are vast and comprehensive on so many levels for when you interact with another person. And this human behavioral data that's in the model, you can share what you share emotionally, socially, and intentionally, and then you get back these social patterns, what people throughout history have done in response to moments like yours. So when you interact with AI, you want to bring the human. You want to bring the personification. You want to act like a human in order to see, hey, how do humans respond when humans act like this? And over on the right, that's where you want to be analytical and say, oh, this isn't thinking, this isn't, emotional intelligence. This isn't, some artificial intelligence. This is significant in the data when it comes to how humans would respond. Like it's not a mirror either. Like if we said over here, oh, I'm afraid, over here, it's not going to say, I'm afraid, because that's probably not the social pattern. The social pattern might instead be, oh, I'm afraid. Oh, I hope I can bring some comfort to you and help calm your fears. See, it's not exact mirror. You get to put in your social stuff and see how socially people would respond. And if that's summarizing a document or writing an email or asking for help, there's a beautiful social pattern where people are helping people in the data. That brings us to this third lever, choosing. Shape the data to meet your needs, honor your goals, and navigate to what matters to you. Scrolling up the screen here are all these universal human needs that everyone on the planet, regardless of your language, culture, or place of origin, everyone that has a human body has these needs universally. And when you figure out, oh, when I'm interacting with AI, what is the specific need that I'm trying to get to? That's like a North Star to help you guide you through the data until you accomplish and meet that need. You don't just, say, AI, can you guess what I need? You figure out what that is and you go back and forth until you get there. To give you an example here, there's two types of choosing where going in, this is exactly what I need. Kick the ball in the goal. That's what I need. Hey, wait, what are you doing? You're going to talk to the crowd instead? And it's like, okay, that's not what I need. Choose this. That's not what I need. Choose this. And you can go back and forth with an AI model until goal, you see the ball go in the net. But the other type of choosing is where I'm not sure exactly what I need. There's like three different goals to choose from in the back and the side and the other side. There's three different teams playing on the field, the red shirts, the blue shirts, the green shirts, or the yellow shirts. The lines on the ground are not helping me know what the thing is I need to do here. And in those situations, that's where you use your power of choice to choose the information you need to see, choose the perspectives and the experts in the model that you need to reference and talk to. And then you get to choose, okay, in this situation, this is what I value. And you choose your values and you choose your reasons. In this situation, I would rather do this instead of that for these reasons. And as continue to engage, in this nebulous space, you might say, oh, that's not it, but that's part of it. Choose this. And you repeat until I know exactly what I need. And then you're kind of back to this column on the left where, oh, you know what you need and you go for it when you're interacting with an AI. It's a great talk, Hard Choices TED Talk. I highly recommend it by Ruth Chan. Uh, for our basis, a lot of this, I'll just mention that in passing. But designing the conversation that you need with AI to do all these different things that are possible with thoughts, language, and words. What kind of conversation are you longing for today with the things that you're trying to figure out? Are you solving a difficult problem? You're trying to find clarity. You want to be challenged, or you want to empathize with something, or consider alternatives. Maybe you want to practice a skill, or you want to talk with an expert. But not only who you want to talk to, but also what influences human behavior, if we're talking about human behavioral data, is where. So you might even, when you're interacting with the AI and you're maybe trying to role play to get to some of these experts, you might also say, hey, let's meet around a campfire or on a panel discussion, because the what you would say around a campfire, human behavior wise, is different than what you would say at a town hall debate, for instance, where, oh, this might get pretty heated. And what you want out of the conversation might change. So the setting is another way you can kind of navigate to what you need from the model. Let me get before we get into a demo, you know, I've given you this thing where, you're generating stuff, you're generating these words that come back based on this input that you stick in. Another reason it's so complicated and people get, confused about this sentience and or feel disempowered with using AI is because they don't know where they are on the map. So like we put in a lot of text when we ask our question, but before we do that, the companies that service up the AI, they put in all of their text. You know, you're a helpful assistant, you don't do bad things, you help with good things. There's a whole model spec that you can read it, and it goes on and on about, all the ways they keep people from building bombs, allow people to talk about whatever topic they want. They try to circumnavigate every bias and everything. I won't get into that, but there's the system level. Then at the developer level, whatever application you're using, like ChatGPT or Claude or one of the Meta products, whatever it is, the developers add more text that you don't see in the background. But then you are here. This is where you control this part of the context. You can add long, detailed prompts, upload files, paste text, drop in images, and you can even create your own custom GPTs. So, and all that is, are these GPTs and assistants. That's another way to drop in extra text that influences what you do. And you might want to do that so you don't have to keep explaining yourself over and over again. And when you have a question in a certain context or on a certain project, you can hit the ground running with help that you need. There's one more level I'll mention is the model level, where there are some models they're releasing out there because they know when people build their context level user level part, they ask a question like write a 3 sentence story about a cat, which doesn't tend to give a great result. So um, what they'll do is they'll say, hey, let's ask a whole bunch of questions about what the user's trying to do. Write a 3 sentence story about a cat. What is this user trying to accomplish? Oh, this user is trying to write a story and they want a narrative about a cat, and it should be 3 sentences. And then it has a conversation with itself. How can we achieve this best for the user? And it'll talk about that. And all that adds as extra text on the top after you've submitted your stuff. So you can see how the amount of text that goes into this greatly affects the result. So that's why you get, that helps you hopefully to understand you are here. This is the part that you have control over, and whether or not you want to choose one of these models or not. But you might say to me, Michael, how do I even trust what I get back if it's just random generated words? You know, how is that even helpful, in a time where you need to rely on this information? And I want to talk about AI confidence lanes. There are some green light scenarios where, mostly you don't have to worry in these scenarios. Like if you're just looking for ideas or opinions, that's not really right or wrong information. You've kind of got a green light to think and brainstorm and ideate and and bounce ideas back and forth all you want to. That's not a make or break thing when it comes to needing the facts to be exactly right. Um, the other lane that's green lighted is like self-expression. If I'm writing an email to somebody and I'm like, oh, hey, um, when I see that email that comes back from AI, is that what I want to say or is it not? Right there on the spot, you have the ability to say, this is what I want to express or not. And so you don't have to worry about that scenario either because you can keep working with it till it is what you want to say, the way you want to say it, with the authenticity and the clarity that you want to bring to your communication. I'm just using email as example, but it's for, research or any type of thing that you're using AI to help you create, little parts of it to build a greater whole. That's kind of a green light use because you're there monitoring it and you know what you want. Going back to, knowing what you need and navigating there. Another scenario is things that are well documented. And I think Ayrton might was going to put in a link in the chat or something here. But like for this kind of a question, what color is required for school zone signs? Um, that's a well-documented path. If you're asking something and your gut tells you, based on your worldview and your knowledge of who all's in the world and what they know, tells you, hey, people know this. I might not know the answer to this question personally, but people in general, they know the answer. This is documented and documented and documented. Because it's so popular in the data, you're probably going the popular answer that most people would answer is probably going to match. Like the MUTCD document is, there's so many copies of it out there. The link that Ayrton showed me today, that was really well put together where, not only did it say this is the MUTCD, kind of response, it gave the disclaimers, it's not 100%, it's based on popular, but it also said this is the specific version of the MUTCD. And these are the specific quotes that we have. Someone did a really good job putting that together. That's a really great use of AI. But then there's this other place where, hey, a question like this, you might need to review what you get back. What have recent studies found about e-scooter crashes on 35 to 45 mile per hour urban roads? If you get back some stuff, go check the links. Go look at the research studies. Make sure that, this thing that might not have been written so much about actually, connects with the known knowledge of your known world of the universe. So it's this iffy kind of a place. But then there's this other place where you really need to do your homework. And you can see with this kind of a question, how might statewide level 5 autonomous vehicles change rural EMS response times by 2040? That's like, oh, well, there might not be a lot written about that for one thing. So what's popular in the model might not be so great. You might even get some sci-fi stuff in there or something. But that's why it's so close to ideas and opinions on the left over here. These these situations that are so speculative, they're almost the same in this respect. And you don't want to take this as fact or certainty. Uh, Even though there could be some great materials on this and it's really great, you definitely want to do your homework and make sure that this data is good. So I hope that gives you an idea of how you can be confident about what you're getting back based on you, the fantastic you that has this gut for what most people know, most people might know, and most people probably wouldn't know that. I better not trust the model for the popular answer that it gives. Um, so let me give you a demo here. Um, this is a intersection over by my house where I live. The Tennessee Department of Transportation has announced that this year they're going to start building this diverging diamond interchange. Right now it's just a regular diamond, but it's new to us. I live just over here about a mile away, and I want to use this as an example of using AI. I'm going to switch over to ChatGPT. This is like a desktop version of ChatGPT for Mac. And I'm going to just give you an example here. And when you're using AI, there's one particular advice that I can give you that I think trumps all the other things when people tell you about, oh, you need to learn prompt engineering, or you need to learn a new way to talk, or there's a certain formula of things you need to include. I tend not to go that route, and I tend to tell people something very specific. The best thing that I can say is click the microphone icon. And counterintuitively, that makes all the difference in the world. And I think you'll see why. Um, because it enables you to build that massive amount of context that you need in order to get back a great result that really services what you're trying to accomplish. So let me just go ahead and I'll explain to you while I'm explaining to the AI what it is this demo is about and how to accomplish it. So I'm going to go ahead and click that to get started. So I've got some documents that I want to upload because I have this project that's coming close to me where I live in Powell, Tennessee. Just around the corner is they have this plan to build this year, this diverging diamond interchange. And, I don't know. To me, I've been on that street, at rush hour traffic where you slam on your brakes and, there's near misses and if I had the crash data and the stories of all the things that have happened at this intersection, the narrative story data, I would add that file here. But instead, I'm just going to add the stuff I do have. One thing that I have is I'm going to give you a picture of the intersection and some of the places that are on Google Maps here. You can see that might be affected in this picture, and that this is the current diamond that's there. I'm also going to scrape and give you this document that has the AI helped me assemble this information. Since this is in this situation, I haven't fact checked all the stuff, but this is, pulled from websites and announcements and different sources that have been announced about, this diverging diamond interchange. So that gives kind of a project overview of what it is and the YouTube video that we've been watching about it. But way back, I found this other document. It's from October 2002. It's an interchange modification study. And the actual document has an appendix that is hundreds of pages long. So I tried to at least copy a part of it that tells the purpose of the study and the stuff and some of the background that's been going into this decision and this project for a whole long time. But the reason I'm considering this project, I'm pretty happy with this idea, and I'm thinking this could be a wonderful thing. But I'm wondering, are there people's perspectives and ideas that I'm just not thinking of? Uh, People, personally, my kids are older. They're not in the school systems around the area anymore. Um, the um, the the hospital, the Tenova Hospital that's right there at that exit with emergency responders. That's not really the hospital of my choice that I go to when I go to the hospital. Um, I have a car and I do drive. I'm not someone who doesn't have a car or uses their bicycle or walks around this area a lot. So I'm me and I'm not everybody, and I think it's a good idea, but I would like to hear from other people. I would like to hear from the voices that would be affected by this project that I might not be thinking of, to get like a 360-degree view of all the possible perspectives and ideas that I'm not thinking of. So if there are some severe concerns that need to be taken into consideration here, I would like to know what those are. And to that end, I've created another document that has like, that I brainstormed using AI to try to come up with, these are the kinds of people in my community. They're just fictional people, but they're kinds of people in my community from all walks of life and all kinds of, from store owner to school teacher to government official to expert about civil engineer type stuff, a wide list of people. If there are people on that list that could express their concerns, that would be great. But even if there's other people I'm not thinking of, like I noticed in the map, this Diamond Interchange is right next to Beaver Creek. And, are there environmental things that we need to worry about with this? That, I've seen this whole side of the intersection getting on and off just flood completely all through here on one of those rainy, floody days. So I would like to role play with these fictional people. Just pick five and bring them to me, and I would like to hear what they say so I can think about this. And if I worked for TDOT or something, maybe this could help me figure out, is there anything I'm not thinking of that would could make this project go smoother? So I'm interested, and not only the thoughts and concerns, but suggestions of people from that would be affected by this transportation project. Okay, so you can see I've almost got 5 minutes of stuff there, and I used everyday language. I didn't use a special formula. I explained it to like somebody that I never that I don't expect to know anything about the project. And you can see you wouldn't want to type all that, your fingers would hurt. Also, you wouldn't free creatively explain what you wanted because you'd be worried about grammar and typing and typos and spelling mistakes and stuff like that. But I'm going to send that off. And you can see I used some of those levers I shared with you early about I used emotion words about feeling responsible for these other perspectives and points of view. I I'm tapping into my social skills to try to figure out who we need to talk to and why, and I'm making choices to try to bring together what would be relevant and helpful to me in this situation. And, it all just comes from the natural language and describing what you want. And the technique I'm showing you now, it works for everything you want to do with AI. If you're trying to figure out how to fix a spreadsheet or Excel file or process volumes of data or stuff, you can just say in language what you want and then see what you get back. And it's also helpful as an assistive technology. I normally just click this right away because I have trouble reading large walls of text.
What a thoughtful and community-minded approach you're taking, Mikhail. Your desire to look beyond your own lens and include voices from those who may be affected differently is exactly the kind of mindset that leads to better, more human-centered planning.
Okay, well, we're not going to read the whole thing, but that's really helpful to me as an assistive technology. And you can see it knows my name. I never told it my name or whatever, but it's because in the settings, I've said, hey, this is me. My name is Michael. This is where I work. This is what I do. So that makes all the answers I get back, relevant more closely to me. I like to use emojis and see that in my text. I like, numbered lists and bullet points. I like emotional supportive language. All that is also influencing what you're seeing here as well. But look who showed up. These five people. Maria Jackson, a mobility advocate for disabled residents. I appreciate how the DDI might reduce crash rates, but I'm worried about pedestrian safety and sidewalk continuity. Will wheelchair users and people with visual impairments be able to navigate the interchange safely? Um, Here's another middle school teacher. Traffic near Power Middle can get nearly nuts during pickup and drop off. If this it changes the traffic flow, is TDOT planning outreach to the schools? The environmental scientist showed up. You mentioned Beaver Creek, and yes, flooding is a major concern. DDI construction could disrupt natural runoff or sediment flow. Has TDOT done recent environmental impact assessments? Um, a retired resident. I walk my dog along the service road every morning. Construction noise, detours, and dust will affect us long before the project is done. And here's another one, a local owner of a diner near the exit. I'm all for safer roads, but road work can kill small businesses. So you can see there's a variety of things you consider, and it's just the beginning. You can dive in and talk with these people more and more, or have them talk with each other, and you can go on a long journey to address and accomplish some really complex things with interacting with all the people that are in the model. So I hope that is really helpful. And just to wrap up here, um, I hope that during this time you've seen the case for why AI is not sentient and it's not helpful when you're trying to maximize your benefit of using AI. I hope you can see the human-centric data is beautiful. That's what's been dropped in our lap. This legacy of what people who've been trying to help in all these fields that we work in and cross-discipline efforts have been trying to give and provide for us has come in a way that we can access it better. And this idea that you are fantastic, absolutely fantastic, you have already in you all the skills you need to use your natural language, your vocabulary, your social skills, and the way you make choices according to your values to get really great beneficial results that can really help and move us as a people forward. I hope this has given you a great foundation for starting your journey into AI. Again, these are things I wish I knew a long time ago, but I just want to open up to any questions in the remaining time that we have and see if there's anything that y'all might like to ask.
Hey, Michael, thank you so much. So this is Ayrton here with TTAP. If anybody have a question, please put on the chat box. If we hit 12 p.m. and you need to go, that's fine. Just if you can stay with us a little longer, we're probably going to be talking a little bit about some of this today. But let's say the following. You mentioned, and by the way, I put the assistant, MUTCD assistant there, link. So hopefully you got that from the chat box also, okay? So let's say you mentioned adding files. So let's say I have a signalized intersection and I am monitoring with some type of detection, like maybe it's LiDAR detection technology, and I am able, you mentioned near misses, right? So, and I'm able to collect data on near misses. I have the timestamp of that. I have the direction of vehicles turning left and almost colliding with a pedestrian. That is considered a near miss. How I would go about getting that data and adding to, for example, ChatGPT and saying, how can I get, how can I make this intersection safer? So I just quickly here, if you have a few thoughts on that, how I would go about. Do I need to explain, like if I get columns of data, timestamp and all that, do I have to explain what each column of data is, or how does it go? How does it work?
Well, in general, it's like I showed in my example. You can drag and drop the information that you have and then use your natural language. And if you see, oh, it's not understanding what you gave it, you can say, hey, and I gave you this, and this is the timestamps, these are the things, and you can interact back and forth to iterate what you want. But it really is drag and drop the file and use your natural language to interact with it. But one thing I'll say about this though is that, ChatGPT and a lot of these others, the context window is limited, and they're still expanding it, and it's going to get bigger fast. There are tools out there that are AI tools that are designed to do, like if you have 10,000 records or something, that's probably going to be hard because when you drop in a file, what the AI will do nowadays is they'll search through your files, find out the relevant parts, and bring it back. And you might find that if you're using ChatGPT, it will search and find, oh, here's the first 50 records, and not really look at the last, but it'll try to use those 50 records to answer your question. When really what you wanted was, I want you to analyze all the data and give me back a quality answer. So that's a problem that's not really solved yet, but some of the things out there, like the qualitative text analysis from a product like Atlas TI, for instance, you could load in a whole bunch of text that is describing all these situations and times, and that tool is intended to scale to larger volumes of data to give better answers. So you would have some good results for smaller data sets or maybe even medium data sets. But when you get into larger things, you're going to want to look for a more powerful tool. At this point in time, I mean, they keep making the models better, so maybe they'll solve all those problems and it'll work even better in the future. But I feel kind of like that's where we are right now.
All right, awesome. So we have a few questions, and again, if you're able, if the audience is able to stay, that's fine. If not, if you need to go, that's fine too. So I think there's one of the first questions here is, and you touched a little bit on that. How do you filter expert opinion from novice or outsider opinions? And the person gave like a house painter view of traffic versus a traffic engineer view.
Yeah, so that comes to the vocabulary that you use and the descriptors for the person that you're trying to get to in the model. So, like, what I sometimes tell people is, you could find a person just exactly like you in the model, your doppelganger, if you were able to throw in enough descriptors and vocabulary to describe yourself. So, if you were describing an expert, you might want to dive into the details about, how many years of expertise does this person have? What did they specialize in their field of expertise? And the more and more you stick on there, the more and more you narrow it down to the specific uh, thing you want to get back. You're always going to get back the most popular thing, so you want to make sure that the popular thing you're asking for has all those little details baked in. I hope that helps answer your question. And if the popular thing is not taking into account what you want, add more descriptors to navigate and change. That was the popular view that most people would say, like maybe novices or somebody else would say. But no, I need more specifics. And when you give more specifics, it navigates the bell curve over to a place where, oh, now this marginalized view I want to take into consideration from this expert who really knows what they're talking about. That is the most popular answer from the expert point of view. I hope that makes sense and helps you navigate to what you're needing from the data.
Yeah, thank you. And by the way, there's several people saying thank you, great presentation, excellent topic. There's one comment here from Kim that I would like to say, you've made AI a lot less scary. So
Oh,
there we
wonderful.
go.
Uh,
So Ted, our friend Ted from Cleveland here is asking, I've seen instances of chat giving different answers to the same question based on the area code the question was posed in. Do you know what might cause that and how to avoid it?
Um, yeah, so everything that gets posted in affects, statistically where you navigate in the model. And if you think of the area code like a vocabulary word, it's going to affect what comes back just from a popular stance. So, and that's why you hear things like things that influence what comes back statistically are things like if the model knows what your name is, it might racially profile you in a way that, hey, this is how we talk to people who have a name like this. Or if you ask this question in the winter time, people give short, curt answers. And if you ask it in the spring, they give you longer answers back. That's because it's all behavioral data and it's based on the behaviors of humans. So when someone mentions a certain area code, that does influence the behavior of the type of stuff you get back. All those little factors you can, when you see it through a behavioral lens, you can start to understand that if you scream at the AI and curse it, like, you're my employee, you should have done this, there's something wrong with you. You better give me the results I need right now. You might get back better results like from that dynamic because it's a human behavioral type thing. Whereas if you say it nicely, you'll get back a different kind of response. So the words you choose matter, even things like zip codes or all those things, because it's the human response that you're getting back. Personally, I don't like to curse at the model or yell or scream at it because I don't like to be that kind of a person or even practice it. So I'd rather just get, the helpful, supportive version, and I keep it on that level. But I hope that helps you see how the little details statistically are all about the human behavior you're getting back because it's behavioral data.
Thank you for that. And let's go for the last question here. So this one is about liability. So at what point does this searching for information become whole or part in engineering designs? And what would be the legal liability for this?
Okay, well, like if you're in the lane of producing content, um, you're responsible for the content that you release. I heard of a person who wrote this book and they were like, I used AI to write my book. And we said, what's your book about? And they were like, I don't know. I never read it. That's an irresponsible use of AI. And you never want to release anything like that in the world. And if you're going back and forth with an AI to create something that is going to be, really important to get right, you want to go back and forth and micromanage going back for the AI. No, no, you can't use that way to describe this part in this paragraph. You need to fix that until you get something and you read it from the beginning word to the end word. If this is a really important thing that you're putting out into the world, you need to verify it to the best of your ability, especially if safety and these other things are at play, and so that you can take 100% ownership of it and say, this is authentically what I wanted to release in the world. And often AI won't give you that out of the box. You'll have to go back and forth with, that's not it, choose this, that's not it, choose this, that's not it, choose this, until exactly the ball is in the net. This is accomplishing and checking all the boxes that meet the human need for the reason that I'm creating this. And if you use AI in that way, that's a responsible use. And what you release is going to be to the best of your ability and the best of your knowledge and what you can do to help other people. I hope that helps.
Awesome, Michael. So thank you everybody for participating. I would like to say thank you for all those folks at the Office of Innovation Technology here at UT that allowed us to get Michael and present for us. So thank you for that as well. And if you have any questions or comments, send me an email or just reach out to TTAP. And keep checking our calendar. We'll try to bring more AI webinars to you in the future. So have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you again, Michael.
Thank you all so much.